Can you dig it, Carl?
Can totally dig it. It's NFL draft time. So,
I am.
how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Windy City Digits podcast. It's been a couple days since we've been able to record, but today we're talking about Bears football. The NFL draft just completed, and the Bears had started out with 6 picks, and we ended up with 11 overall. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the digit for today is going to be 11 for the 11 picks that we picked up. Now, who knows if they'll all stick with the team or not, right? But I don't know. What are your initial thoughts?
So Carl and I had a argument over text about the pick.
Which Vic lost?
I don't know yet, but I think some fans were disturbed that we picked defensive picks the first 2 picks. I was one of them. Okay, but I did jump the gun a little bit because those 2 defensive picks seemed to be really solid picks.
Correct.
Okay. However, I still feel that if you really want Fields to succeed, you needed an offensive line and a wide receiver. I thought they should have got those 2 positions and the best picks available for OL and wide receiver before they reached out for those positions. And I wasn't
You're still
happy.
losing the argument. You still lost the argument. The second you opened your mouth, you lost the argument.
No, because you say best available pick. That they were not the best available picks.
On the Bears draft board, right? Look,
Yeah, on their draft board, you're not in their freaking huddle, man, and know exactly what their draft board is. If you looked at some of the other draft boards there, those 2 guys weren't ahead of other people.
Okay, so Kyler Gordon, our first pick in the second round, supposedly was a first-round talent, right? But everybody passed on him. Nobody went with him, right? So, I don't know. Here's what I think. I think that if you can get a guy in a later round, right? Like, who's the guy we picked? Velus Jones Jr. We got him in the 3rd round. He seems to be a pretty good pick, right? If you can pick him in the 3rd round, why would you draft him in the 2nd round?
Because you didn't know you were going to get him in the 3rd round, man. Neither did
Like
Bears.
that's the whole guessing. Like, look, that's the whole game, right? Look, you got 2 guys in the 2nd round that automatically made your defense better.
Absolutely.
Right? Now everyone's saying, like, look, we should have done more to help Justin Fields. We should have done more to help Justin Fields. Did you watch that defense last year? Did you see how many passing yards we gave up last year?
I don't disagree with you, man.
Okay. So if you weren't going to get the guy you wanted or a wide receiver or offensive lineman that you rated high, or you felt like, okay, looking at the draft board, part of it is also guessing what other teams are going to draft or what other teams are going to get, right? You're going to go with what you think is your best player at the time. So they went with 2 defensive backs. They end up getting a lot of help. They end up drafting a lot of offensive linemen. They drafted wide receivers. Look, I'm looking at the list here. 1, 2, 3. They drafted 3 offensive linemen, right? They signed 1 receiver. They signed a bunch after undrafted free agents. So, look, you and I talked about this over text. You're not going to fix everything in one draft. There's too many holes. Ryan Pace left us a hot mess, a bunch of garbage, right? And I get everyone's clamoring about it. And you're not going to be able to judge this draft for like 2-3 years, right? But look, Tevin Jenkins last year was supposed to be a can't miss. And who knew that, like, what? He ended up being hurt and needed back surgery, right?
Well, there was some thoughts out there about that.
Well, they knew about that when he was a senior.
That's why he dropped. That's why his value dropped in the draft. That's why the Bears were.
And somehow we picked him. We could have probably gotten him later. Something else, right? Like, I still think that. Oh, look, and here's the other part I want to bring up. Right? They're talking about, like, I saw this on Twitter and I saw some news reports. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Justin Fields was working with Ryan Poles and saying, hey, look, here's kind of what we're thinking. Here's kind of what our plans.
Yep.
If we're looking at these wide receivers, what do you think? Like, what are you looking at? Like, what do you think? This is what we think. How do you feel about this? So it's not like Justin Fields wasn't involved in this process the entire time. You don't hear Justin Fields being upset and like, hey, they should have got me more help, whatever. Like his agent or whatever saying, look, they should have got me more help. He understands that this is going to be a process. He understands that they're going to try to get as much help as they can. And he's been involved with this process. So, like, if Justin Fields is buying into this whole thing of what they're trying to build, I don't see any reason why, like, and I get Bears fans get so impatient, and there's like 3 million GMs here in the city of Chicago, but I didn't have any problem with the way they drafted.
Well, it ended up well because they made three trades to get up to that 11 pick.
Total 11 picks, right? They added 5 more picks.
So I mean, like initially I was irritated. I'm like, there's no way they're going to get more guys the way they did. Plus, I get your point that they had Fields involved. I mean, he easily could have said these are guys that I like, and he could easily be irritated that they didn't pick 2 offensive people those first 2 picks. That doesn't necessarily mean that he agrees the order of the picks. I heard he did like Jones. That was one guy that he liked. That's the only thing I heard, honestly. I know a lot of the Bears coaches, I guess Poles told them to put like stars on their chart of if these guys fall, what are your favorite guys? And supposedly they got a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But when you read about some of the offensive linemen that they picked, a lot of them are they have the skills, but like we talked briefly, is it going to translate into a starting NFL job, or are they reserves? They still need reserves, quite honestly, because who did we have? Peters, out of retirement to help us out, offensive lineman. So, I mean, we need the bodies to begin with. So, I mean, like, you're right. I mean, there was too many people to fill this roster with, and in hindsight, now that they got 11 picks, I'm a lot more happy than I was after those first 2 picks.
Look, I just think that when you look at something like, so for like, I read you a stat, right? The first 2 guys we picked, Gordon and Brisker, they had something like, between the 2 of them, had something like 1,200 or 1,500 snaps between the 2 of them. And the total between the 2 of them gave up 1 touchdown.
1?
Between the 2 of them. 1.
1? 1 what? 1?
1 touchdown.
Wow, 1.
Right?
Okay, so the Bears, so just to help you out with that too, the Bears quarterback safeties, out of like 31 touchdowns or whatever against the Bears defense, 27 of those were where the cornerback and safety were closest to the football.
Correct.
So that it was something like that. I don't know if I have that stat right, but
just in theory, right? Usually when they pass the ball for a touchdown, usually the cornerback or the safety will be the closest defender. Usually.
All right. Well,
just
we were the 3rd worst in the NFL,
which is why we drafted 2 DBs.
So it's called
stat. Those guys could be opening day starters. Both those guys.
They are slotted for across from the other 2, so they will be. That's what I heard.
So here's the other thing I would say also, right? I mean, are people upset that we didn't get more wide receivers out of it? Yes, right?
I think
Minnesota. I don't know what the hell Minnesota was thinking. They traded down to Green Bay, and Green Bay took a wide receiver with that high pick. I have no idea what the hell Minnesota was thinking. I think they did the same thing with Detroit.
Green Bay
they traded down with Detroit too, and then Detroit took a wide receiver.
Green Bay's draft supposedly had rave reviews. So KC,
Green Bay drafts.
KC supposedly had the best draft according to some stats.
Kansas City.
Yeah, but here let's go through.
Where did Ryan Poles come from?
Yeah, that's just an empty stat, man. All right, go ahead. he's not there right now. All right, so
that's where I love from.
yeah, when you're
So here's the thing: there are still on the board as far as free agent wide receivers. Julio Jones is still available. Jarvis Landry is still available.
yeah, he did say he was going to reach out possibly to unrestricted free agents or undrafted free agents, and also a veteran possibly. So he still might shore it up. So yeah, go ahead.
So there's still avenues, or ways we could still get another, proven wide receiver.
Yeah, proven. So here, do you know he's picked up 4 other receivers undrafted. Landon Lenoir from Southern Illinois.
There's a guy from Liberty.
Yep.
That we
Henry Litt.
signed.
Yep, Henry
And
Litwin.
there's some weird university also that we drafted or that we signed a undrafted wide receiver.
Yeah, Slippery Rock Athletics, Henry Litwin. Scavin Scarver, Utah State. So I mean, he obviously he knows we need more help for Justin. So go back to some of the some of those picks. You've got quarterback from Washington, who you I think we've talked about.
Kyler Gordon from Washington, Jacon Visker, a safety from Penn State, Bailey Jones Jr., wide receiver, Braxton Jones, offensive tackle from Southern Utah. He's gotten rave reviews. Braxton Jones.
They say he looks chiseled. Yeah, like he could be a beast, man. So that might not.
He was a highly rated offensive lineman that fell all the way to the 5th round.
Actually, Dominique Robinson is the one I'm thinking of. Dominique Robinson is the one.
Dominique Robinson, who went in the 5th round, also defensive end, Miami, Ohio. Then Zach Thomas, offensive tackle, San Diego State. Tristan Ebner from Baylor, running back. Kramer from Illinois as a center. Ja'Tyre Carter, offensive guard from Southern. Elijah Hicks, free safety from Cal, and Trenton Gill, a punter from NC State. So, just the one we've kind of read, right, and kind of seen out there, the first 4 picks, and granted they were 2nd, 3rd, and 5th round picks, all potentially, could have an immediate impact. That's 4 guys out of your 45-man roster.
Yeah,
that's 10% of your roster that could have an immediate impact right away.
Yeah, with the amount of picks they needed, I agree.
And the guy they drafted from Baylor, at number 203 overall, Tristan Ebner, supposedly he's like a stud returner.
Him and Jones. Yeah, so their special teams have improved too, just based on the draft. I mean, obviously they've improved. So, okay, what do you think that Poles needs to do right now?
Wait, what was that?
What does Poles need to do right now?
I think he's got to try to see who's still left out there. There's a lot of free agents still left out there. And I think he's got to. I think rookie camp is this weekend, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's either this weekend or next weekend. They bring the rookies in, kind of see what they got face to face. And then from there, you'll learn a lot just from having those guys in-house, right? If these guys can help or not. But I think you need to at least explore Jarvis Landry. I think you need to explore him as an option. So I don't know what else you could be looking. I mean, look, offensive linemen are a lot of the skilled positions, like offensive linemen, those type spots. The guys that are quality are probably already been signed by a team.
Yeah.
Right? The reason why some of these wide receivers haven't signed for one reason or another, like Julio Jones or Jarvis Landry, part of it is money.
Age.
Right? Part of it is those guys want to play for someone that's contending now.
Yeah.
Right? Because they are older. So that does kind of put us a little bit behind the 8 ball, but
age.
You never know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I think you're absolutely right. They're basically going to be looking out for the undrafted free agents they're picking up right now, and they're going to look for some bargains. They don't want to spend a lot of money on people right now.
No, I don't think so. I don't think you want to put yourself, because you got a big cap number. From what I read, there's a huge cap number available to us next year.
Yep, you're right. And then
so
they just got a hit with Nick Foles. So did you see Nick Foles just got released?
Yeah, Nick Foles got released. They traded away Khalil Mack because I think some of that number is still against us. You know, so you're going to have some big time contracts come off the books next year.
Next year will be a big year.
And look, based on the success you have this year, right? If you're at least competitive, and Justin Fields shows some promise, right? You're going to be able to get some big time free agents next year.
Yeah, I hope they're the receivers they picked up from Pringle and Pringle just was arrested recently.
Yeah, because he was driving with an expired license.
What a moron, man! Like those are the type of things we don't need to happen with our players we're picking up. But
no,
hopefully those guys will pan out, because like if they don't, I think that's gonna really look poorly on them.
Look, that's another point to bring up, right? They obviously know in 2023 there's a big number for them. And they see who's going to be a free agent at the beginning at next season, right? And they probably have certain
need. Yeah.
They have certain guys that are targeted, right? So just being devil's advocate here, right? I mean, let's say they have one or two free agent wide receivers that they're targeting next year.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Sticking out of your head.
Why would you? I don't know. You know, fans might be upset for 1 year, but if you already know you're going to target this wide receiver next year, or this stud offensive lineman,
because you don't know if you're going to get them. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, part of it is you don't know you're going to get them, but if you can get guys that are going to make impacts right away, those are the guys you get.
I think they're doing the best job they can with the money they've got. They're trying to be frugal in order to have as complete of a team as they possibly can. So I'll give it to them this year. Next year, like, I'd probably be a little bit more upset if we don't get a better receiver. But then what if these receivers are good? I still like Darnell Mooney. I think he's a good number one, personally.
I think Mooney's going to be good, right? St. Brown's going to be a good wide receiver for us. Good, possession guy.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
And if Jones comes in, that's your 1, 2, and 3 right there.
And you got Pringle. You forgot Pringle. He's supposed to be
I'm kind of craving some Pringles right now. Now that you mentioned
it. I know. Sour cream and onion, man. Sour cream and onion. There you go. But did you think Nick Foles was a bad choice for the Bears at the time?
Yeah.
Me too. Okay. All right. We agree. This is great.
I thought it was awful.
Yeah. But
right?
I don't know why you're getting rid of him if you don't really have a good backup.
Because you signed Trevor Siemian.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess in terms of compatibility with the playbook with Justin Fields, that's a good.
Here's my guess: is that they probably tried to trade him to a team for like a 6th round or 7th round draft pick.
They got nothing,
and no one was willing to take it on. So when the draft is over, they're like, "Okay, well, we're just going to cut you."
Yeah, I wish they would have done it last year. Then they might have been able to get something for him. But I think he had a trade rights, possibly.
Like right of first refusal, like player option, like
maybe
no cut.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me, with the way that Pace signed these terrible contracts. So it wouldn't surprise me at all whatsoever if that were the case.
I know. That was exciting. It's still exciting. It's exciting to talk about someone other than our other teams that have been losing lately.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
But look, it's always football is always going to be number one in this town, right? Bulls are, a second place, distant, but it'll always be a Bears town. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the fall, right? Come the fall, all this talk, all this, being frustrated. The only time it's going to come up is when if these wide receivers are dropping balls, or if these wide receivers aren't running routes, or the passing game isn't very good, and Justin Fields gets sacked left and right. Then you're going to hear all this argument about that. You know what? They should have done better in the draft. They could have done better in the draft. These guys aren't, you can't expect these guys to come in right away. All 11 of these guys to come in right away and make an impact. If you get 2 or 3 of them that come in and make an impact right away, great, fantastic. That you did your job. But if these guys, make their impact down the road, like what they say, Adam Thielen from Minnesota didn't even get drafted, right? And signed as a undrafted free agent, and look at what receiver he turned out to be.
Yeah.
Right? Every freaking year, Green Bay drafts these wide receivers I've never, ever heard of in my life.
Yeah.
And they end up being all pros.
I know. Maybe Bears fans, we get lucky. We get lucky with some of these picks, like some of these other teams. And then we are the team that's like saying, yeah, we need to pull polls away from the Bears for all their solid draft picks.
Yeah.
That would be.
But, hope maybe Lightning will strike twice. The first year that Pace and Nagy were together, they made the playoffs. They won the division. Maybe we'll pull off the same thing this year. Who knows? We'll see how it comes together, but we'll wait and see what happens. So what do you guys think about the draft? We'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks everyone's been tuning into the channel. I know it's been a couple of days since we've been able to post a lot of Bulls talk, but first time we've been talking about Bears in a while, so we'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, good or bad, as far as what you guys think about that. If you haven't had a chance yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the bell to get notified on future episodes. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Love and
digits.
Yeah.